LaRhonda Hamilton. She's joining us today from Tyler Junior College. We're really excited to have her and some of her students here today. So I'll welcome her up here and just kind of introduce herself and get started.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Make sure this works for you.
Thank you. How's everybody doing?
Right.
I first need to ask, I have two rosters that are missing from up front for my students to check in. Anybody by chance take those? Thank you. So to my students, if you did, okay, you just passed on. Okay. So again, my name is LaRhonda Hamilton, and I am a criminal justice professor at Tyler Junior College. And I put a disclaimer up there because I am by no way a professional when it comes to CASA. Okay, so don't hold anything against me. Just to tell you a little bit of something about myself, and my students have heard this before. I served 20 years, 4 months, and 8 days in the U.S. Army. During my time in the military, I did 11 years active and 10 years reserve. So as a reservist, I worked in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, Mark W. Stiles Unit in Beaumont, Texas. And I promoted to sergeant to Larry Gibbs State Jail. So when I retired from the military, I started working as a child maltreatment investigator. Some of you may know that to be as CPS, Children Protective Services. I did that for 5 years before I started teaching criminal justice at a high school in Texarkana, Arkansas. Anybody familiar with Texarkana? You know that one side of the street is Texas and the other side of the street is Arkansas. Well, I worked on the Arkansas side and I lived on the Texas side. So working as a CPS was very rewarding and also traumatic at the same time. So, and we'll talk a little bit about that. I am now the criminal justice professor at Tyler Junior College. I've been here in Tyler for 6 years. I've been teaching at TJC for 6 years. So I relocated from Texarkana to here to assume the position of professor. Since I've been here, I have worked as a CASA, which I'm pretty sure this front row, you're all CASAs, right? CASAs. I worked as CASA, and I really enjoyed working with CPS, with the CASA children. I did pass a case along, my last case, which was a young girl, 7 years old, who was very suicidal. And this was during COVID time. So if you know, during COVID time, we were only able to FaceTime the children. And this little girl needed a lot of attention. And by now, I am what they call me a community activist. So I'm involved in a lot of things in the community. So I did not have the time that this little girl needed. So I had to step away from being CASA. But Jared, I promise you, I'm coming back.
Okay.
As soon as my
I was going to talk to you about that. That's good to know.
As soon as my schedule slows down, I am coming back. So I applaud you all for volunteering and being CASA. Okay? And I keep looking at that one, I forget I have one. Okay, so while each child's story is unique, there are some identifiers that are common to foster children. Many are suffered from foster homes, from family homes, from friend homes, and during this time, they lapse in education. They miss school, they are abused and they are neglected. Children that feel unwanted and unloved and are also at a higher risk for being re-victimized. So they experience trauma, which often leads to distrust, to not only to CASA, to the CPS, to the criminal justice system, because a lot of them are not aware that with CPS and with CASA, we are trying to help them. CPS is trying to get them out of dangerous situations. CASA, we're trying to make sure that the child is represented in court. So there are, and I put 200 plus children that were in foster homes here in Texas, at least that's the number that I got when I Googled it, that need someone to have their backs. a person who will look into their specific cases, who will get to know them and be their voice, someone to advocate his or her best interests. As a court-appointed special advocate, CASA, you all can do that, and you all are doing that. Now, I want to know, what is your why? Can you tell me, what is your why? Why are you a CASA? Can you tell me your name? Why are you?
My name's Amy. I am actually the program director here.
Okay.
I work here because kids are actually my heart, and none of these kids asked to be put in this position. Someone else made that choice, and I love that we are part of solutions.
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome.
And I'll kind of say the same thing. I'm Trish Nation. Kids have my heart, and my family, there are a whole bunch of kids. And I just kind of look at them and think, what if they were in a bad situation, like some of the kids that we'll be presented with? And I just have, they're in my heart. So.
Right, and you have to have a heart. You have to be compassionate with these children. What about you?
Millie Wester is my name, and I started in foster care. So I did foster care for quite a while, and two little boys came into foster care. And they had a really horrible, terrible beginning to their life. And when they came into foster care, they came into a PAC center. And CPS called me and asked me if I would just go out and meet them, and I did. And I brought them home, and 9 months later, I adopted them.
Oh.
So I know that whole process, and the
Yes.
CASA worker that came to see us. So they're 23 and 24 now, and I'm an empty nester.
Understand
So,
that.
Give back. That's what it's about.
Yes.
That I know the whole process of all of this, and I know that these kids, some of them need all the help they can get, and so I can do it from this side.
Right.
And I'm an old lady now, so.
No, you're not.
Yeah. So I can do this.
So you can do this. Thank you. What about you?
To add to that, I just love seeing the difference that all of our voices can make for their voice.
Yes.
In every aspect.
Right. Right. So not just in court.
Yes.
What about you?
I've worked with kids in various different capacities for over 10 years now, and worked in the school system. So I've seen a lot. I've worked in the church. I've seen a lot, and so it means a lot to be able to now advocate.
My name is Victoria, but I'm the team coordinator at CASA, so I don't have a kid below 12, and my cases go up until like 19 years old. A lot of my kids say that they stop being heard when they're 15, because typically when you're a teenager, you don't get adopted. And that's my why. I make sure like they're heard, and I make sure that somebody's listening to them, and I'll represent that.
I'm a CASA so that kids know that they are listened to and seen, and they know that they have someone in their corner.
I'm Glenda. I guess I just have a heart for children who don't feel seen or heard, no matter their situation. And I've also raised children and gone through difficult times, raising kids, and we got through it. And then when I became a CASA, it just came so strong. And I just remember asking myself the question, if not me, then who? Because I saw the need, but somebody, I just couldn't live with seeing it. I had to say, the most vulnerable among us has got to have somebody. And I couldn't sleep at night until we got on. It just was so strong in my heart.
think kind of like a saying, just, I think I've always known from the time I was young that I had a soft place or soft spot in my heart for kids that didn't have the great childhood that I had. That, and then also just thinking about wanting to use that passion to make a difference and which kind of led me to CASA, but I also think trying to stop the cycle of, you know, maybe we can help these kids not end up being the same kinds of parents that their kids, that their parents have been to them, maybe they can make a difference in that way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So to my students, I have talked about CASA in all of my classes. I ask you, but I don't remember, raise your hand if you're 21 years old or older. If you're 20, about to turn 21. Okay, so I think, Jerry, there's something where it's close to their birthday, then they can go through the training.
Absolutely.
And then when they turn 21, they can become a CASA. So you heard everyone's stories as to why they are a CASA. You have to have a heart. You have to be compassionate. When I worked at CPS, the child maltreatment investigator, I was on the front end. Working for Arkansas, you have the investigators and then you have the CPS, who were the ones who will find the foster homes. I think in Texas, their work is combined, right? No, it isn't. It isn't. So you have the investigator and then you have the one that.
It does the casework afterwards, yes.
Okay, okay. Well, I was on the front end, and being out there on the front end, you see a lot. And your heart goes out to those children. And it goes out even more when you're trying to get them out of this dangerous situation and they're fighting to stay with what's familiar. They're fighting to stay with their families. One little girl, and then we'll move on with the PowerPoint. Her mom was kind of low functioning. And she lived in a different state, but she had family that was there in Texarkana. And they tricked her into moving to Texarkana. And they tricked her by sending her pictures of this red brick home. And they told her they wanted her to move to Texarkana so she could take care of this red brick home. So she and her 2 children moved to Texarkana into what they thought was a red brick home. But actually it was a rundown barn. So I got a call, a little girl who said she had been a raccoon bit her on her hand. So I got their report and I went out, and the first time I drove around and I said, there is no way they're living in this. There's no way that anybody lives here. So I went back out the next day with a CPS worker and I saw that a trash can was pulled to the end of the street. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe someone does live here. And when I got out, the mom was coming from the side of the barn and she was kind of disordered. And I told her who I was. And while I was there, and she invited me in. And inside, again, it was a rundown barn where she tried to do her best. She had a sleeping bag for them to sleep on, but there were holes in the floors where the raccoons were coming through at nighttime and were biting on them. She was doing her best. She had everything like what we call in the military dress right dress. You know, all of her food items that she had them lined up. The little clothes that they had, she had them folded up, but they had no running water either. And the family wanted her to come so they can get her money. And when I went out to talk to the little girl, she looked at me and she said, can you please help my family? And that was just like, it touched my heart. And I knew that there was no way that I could take this child away from her mom, because her mom, with being low functioning, was living the best life that she could possibly live. So I ended up connecting with the Salvation Army and getting in my place in Salvation Army. So when you have children that are begging, you know, to help, or even the children who don't see that they're in a dangerous situation, then you get them out of the situation. So as CASA is very important, you know, you work hand in hand with CPS, even though it's after the fact. and you're going out and you're visiting the children, and then you're going to be their voices in court. So that collaboration is very important. The primary responsibilities of CASA as a volunteer, you've all have gone through this training, right? You want to make sure that you gather information. You want to review your documents and your records. You want to interview the children. How many of you go to the schools and you have your coloring book? A family that I had, the 2 kids, I would go out to visit them, and they would love to take selfies with my phone. They wouldn't post it anywhere, couldn't let anyone see them, but just the fact they like getting my phone and taking selfies, that opened up a way to communicate with them, and they built a rapport with them. And so they got to the point where they loved seeing me coming, and they trusted me. And I was able to talk to them about what was going on and on the home front. Document findings, you want to provide written reports for court hearings. I can't remember the name of the system where you go in and put your reports. Optima. You go in and put your reports there, appear in court, advocate for the child's best interest, and provide testimony when necessary. So when I was a CASA, we all did the half moon in front of the judge. Is it still like that? And you speak on the behalf of the children. You want to be that glue. You want to see cooperative solutions among individuals and organizations, again, working closely with CPS. You want to involve the children's lives. So as one volunteer said, you want to be the glue that connects the pieces in a complicated children welfare system. And you want to recommend services. And this is working hand in hand with the CPS. Monitor your caseloads, court orders, and then you want to keep the court informed. You want to be the eyes of the court for the children. So I know you all are well experienced and know that. So to consider this a refresher. Desired traits, which I feel like everybody has these traits. You want to be organized, have organization skills. Right now, my life is so unorganized. From my car being my office with paper explosion, to my office being paper explosion, to my house being paper explosion. So right now, my organization skills is completely out of whack. And I know that it's nobody else in this room but me who's unorganized. Is that true?
Oh, yeah, you're it.
I mean, okay, you want to have ability to complete your reports again, your paperwork in a timely, legible, and professional manner. You want to be understanding, which I feel like everybody is in this room. You want to be compassionate. Compassion for the children and as well as the parents. You want to be a good communicator, you want to be a team player, and you want to have a high level of maturity. And I say a high level of maturity because sometimes you may get some of the younger ones that may be immature and can't really handle the children that's on their caseload like they should. They may want to get down to that level when you get some disgruntled children or behaviors. Effectively advocacy in court, basically everything that we've already talked about. You want to make sure you have made your business with your assigned children. Again, be their voice in court, work closely with CPS, and then come with a pleasant attitude. Sometimes we have a bad day, and being in court is the last place we want to be, but you put that personal feelings to the side and bring your pleasant attitude to court, because mind you, everybody's watching. Whether we believe it or not, everybody's watching. De-escalate techniques for youth teens from violence. De-escalation was one of the things that Jerry asked me to speak on. It can be challenging, it can be intimidating as you care for the young person, others, and yourself all at the same time. And the intensity of the moment with a young person's behavior is escalated. May feel hard to handle, but knowing how to respond quickly with common de-escalation skills is the key. So we want to de-escalate the process of calming down the situation before it escalates further. The little girl, the 7-year-old who was suicidal, the times that I was able to visit with her face to face, she was combative. And she was combative because she had gone through traumatic experiences. She didn't understand what was going on. And at the end of the age of 7, she felt like she had to fight all the time. So she was a runner. Every chance she got, she would go through that front door and take off. And then her guardian would have to chase her. One night, the guardian just called the police for the police to get her because she didn't know how to handle this young 7-year-old. Okay, so you don't want to, they're already angry and upset, so you don't want to approach them being angry and upset with them. So you want to come with that calm demeanor. You want to try to talk to them in a calm manner, not showing that you angry with them, not showing that you upset with them. Kids and teens can act out in disrespectful ways, fighting, yelling, or swearing. So it's important to note that there is always a reason for the behaviors. Even if we don't see the reason in the moment, often kids and teens in a situation where they're separated from parents or family might feel overwhelmed and they may feel angry, frustrated, or worried about something going on. So with that said, how are we as advocates, as you, as CASA, handle those challenging behaviors can make a difference? We can choose to engage in an argument with kids and teens, or we can de-escalate the situation. De-escalation is the answer. Jay, tell me, have you ever been in a situation where you're angry and someone had to de-escalate you? How did the person handle the situation who had to de-escalate?
They just came to me and told me, like, to calm down. It's not that serious. It's gonna be okay.
Okay. Calm down. So how did you feel when they said it's not that serious?
It's like they're trying to like downplay the emotions.
All right. So did that make you even angrier with saying
Like, yeah,
it's not that serious?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what would have preferred them to say to you?
Like, calm down. It's gonna be okay. And we can talk about this.
Okay. Okay. So that was one of the things I think is on this chart, selling de-escalation strategies for challenging behaviors. You want to act calm, even if your insides are all over the place. Even if you are frustrated and you are angry, you as an advocate want to act calm. You want to give a choice. Do you need to just be by yourself for a moment? Do you want to talk? Give them the choice. You want to say, let's talk about this later. If they're in an uproar and they're all over the place and they're yelling and swearing, you want to talk about this later? Give your time to calm down. You want to listen and repeat what was said. And what he just said, that he was feeling angry, he was feeling frustrated. And were you sharing what you were angry about?
Yeah, it was pretty evident when I was angry.
It was pretty evident. To the person, it was evident.
Yes.
The angry about? Okay. So with them listening to you will help you kind of calm down, because sometimes you just need a listening ear, right?
Sometimes you don't want to hear the truth. You don't want to hear like it's gonna be okay. No, it's gonna be bad.
Yeah. So then we want to give you a chance. Let's talk about it later. Give you time to calm down. You want to change the subject to a positive one. You want to invite them to join a calming activity, especially with our young children who may be upset, pulling out your coloring book or even taking the selfies and, put on the different, what's the thing on Instagram? Filters, put on the different filters. Put on the different filters, the funny faces, and then get them to laugh and get them away from thinking about what is upsetting them. And you want to give space, and then you want to give wait time. Okay, but you still want to make sure that they are not in any harms or any danger to themselves or to others. So that is some of the de-escalation strategies for those challenging behaviors. I did include a little video, Jared.
This video is intended to be a guide for you to use with your direct care staff. My name is Philip, and I am a KIT education and training specialist. I have over 16 years of experience. I've had successes with strategies like this one many times in my own classrooms. I will be demonstrating the 6 steps of de-escalation along with my colleagues, Neely, Viviana, and Sasha. The strategies you see in this video can be demonstrated, practiced, and implemented with your staff in your center. Dealing with aggressive behaviors can feel stressful to teachers. It may feel like addressing the child who's having the behaviors is the best place to start. However, best practices tell us that we should set up our environment first. Steps 1 through 3 set up the space by removing the audience, by establishing a second set of eyes, and by setting up the environment. Let's get started. Remove the child's audience by helping any children in the immediate area to transition their activity as far away as the room allows. This limits the amount of attention the child is receiving from peers and reduces the likelihood they will get physically hurt during the behavior. Hey, Sasha, let's take these toys over to the lunch table. A child who is experiencing a physical tantrum or aggressive behavior is usually engaging their reptile brain and the fight, flight, or freeze response. At this moment, they can't access language, follow instructions, nor use listening skills. After you help the children to find other locations for their activities, walk over to your phone or intercom system and call for additional supervisory support from someone who's not already in ratio. When they arrive, this staff should go into ratio and supervise the other children in the classroom. As you're waiting for the additional support to arrive, avoid talking or making direct eye contact with the child. Focus on removing any items, furniture, or toys that can be damaged or thrown from around the child. Steps 4 through 6 outline how to engage the child having the outburst by being a coach, not a cop, using words and gestures to relate to the child, and landing the plane. Use a parallel approach or side-by-side technique as you move closer to the child, and continue to withhold eye contact. Use proximity, how close the child allows you to get, and the child's body language to indicate how receptive they are in that moment. Let's see what Viviana is telling us with her body language. Her arms are tense, her face is frowning, her body is tight. Avoid getting closer than arm's distance. Remember, the closer the child lets you get, the more receptive that they tend to be. Since Viviana is showing that she is ready, we continue maintaining a safe distance, get down to the child's eye level, and label what you think they're feeling. Avoid asking open-ended or why questions. Viviana, it looks like you're feeling upset. Express your willingness to help. Mr. Philip would really like to help you. A nonverbal way to relate to the child is to hold out your palm and invite them to place their hand on yours. It's about connection, not correction. If the child isn't responding to your attempts at de-escalation, or if the behaviors escalate some more, maintain a safe distance and continue performing steps 4 and 5 by withholding attention and eye contact, and looking at proximity to know when to move forward. When de-escalation is working, you may see the child begin to relax their body or even become sleepy. They might answer your questions or even begin to cry. Help the child refocus their brain by offering simple choices. Avoid choices that relate to the outburst. Would you like to read a book or color with some crayons? I like how cooperative you're being, Viviana. Look for the first opportunity to give positive attention. Remember that landing the plane isn't about getting the child to do what the adult wants. It's about reestablishing positive communication and receiving praise for cooperating. After the behavior, look for an opportunity to teach the child new skills. Encourage adults to think about the root of the behavior and what the child can do next time to avoid it. 2 examples are using conflict resolution strategies or self-regulation and relaxation techniques. Refer to the Preschool Conflict Resolution Guide for other strategies on capitalizing on those teachable moments. Thanks for joining us today. We hope that you can do these strategies with your staff at your center. KIT, leading the field in disability inclusion training and behavior support for all children.
Hey, was there anything in particular that stood out? Everybody uses these techniques already? CASA?
I don't really agree with the withholding eye contact.
Withholding, I didn't agree that part.
Yeah, that's because that's again, you're dismissing the kid by not having that contact.
Thank you for bringing it up, because when I watched the video last night, I agree with that too, because making eye contact is showing that you're concerned about what's going on. And I know when I'm talking to someone and they're not giving me eye contact.
It's dismissive.
Yeah, it is, even with my students. But what do you
I
say?
was like, when like a kid throwing a tantrum, like at the moment, like when they're like looking for attention like that, if you don't give them the attention, like maybe just for a second to let them cool down, that's what they want. They want somebody, somebody see that I'm angry, somebody see that I'm angry, you know what I mean? But if you give them a second to cool down and then interact with the child, I feel like I understand from that perspective.
Okay, so let them get it out.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I feel like with the eye contact, like he's been like intimidating, you know? Like you standing at the kid and you're not getting like, you feel like you obviously see there's something wrong with him, but you like hearing that they're like intimidating. Like,
Well, one thing is this. You know, looking and listening.
I'm not done. I got done.
Okay.
It was kind of like the way, like yeah, he was being like nice about it, but the way how he was, like he was like, you know, like I understand like this their job, you know, and this their job to be nice, but like he's been like overly nice. You know, like he's not doing his job. You feel like he's just. I feel like he was doing his job and not like trying to make a change. You know, he was like being like.
Well,
I don't know the word.
We need to consider the age of the children as well. So with some older teen or something like that, I understand what you're saying, but you know, with the children, we kind of almost want to get to a childlike level. You're trying to calm them down. Anybody else have any? Yes, ma'am.
I've worked with kids in a lot of different situations, and one of the things that I've done a lot of the time, whenever they're just so upset and everything, I do the breathing techniques. Breathe in through your nose, you know, and that will a lot of the times help settle them down to a degree.
And I know it does when the anxiety is on 10, the breathing is out of control, and then doing the breathing technique would definitely calm, not even just children, but
yeah,
also as adults as well. But yeah, Ozzy.
He said, don't ask why questions.
The what now?
He said, don't ask why questions, like, you know, how we can work on it. What's wrong? Why look at that? Why do you think it's like that? Why not ask that question? Because I don't know.
And then
It like she said, it really depends, it's like.
that's what I was about to say. So it depends on the situation.
But I'm just like, why?
Yeah, so you, I mean, you want to eventually listen and repeat what was said, change the subject, act calm, then you wanna know what's going on. We wanna calm them down, right? I feel like you all are the professionals. Yeah, somebody else,
I think to answer your question, his focus on why not to ask open-ended questions, because he was training for toddlers. Like, I think that if you don't ask older kids, that they're also gonna feel, even more angry because you're not giving them the attention that they want from the like he said, they want the attention. Because I mean, we literally have had kids that will throw a fit on the floor right here, and if you're ignoring the fit, they'll walk over here and do it directly in front of you.
You don't see I have a problem.
yeah.
Right. And the older kids want you to ask.
Yeah, and like I said, it depends on the age of the children. You dealt with toddlers.
And I got one now, so.
So you do, so how do you de-escalate situations with your toddler?
What she does. Silent. Still need to talk. I already know this, honestly. She'll cry when she's. Diagnosed to change, she's sleepy. She's.
Well, consider yourself blessed. Consider yourself blessed. Okay, advocating for children who are incarcerated. So in the absence of appropriate, less restricted alternatives, secure detention is reserved for high-risk youth who pose a danger to self or the community, or who are not likely to attend court hearings. So again, you're gonna be that voice for that teen, that child in court. So you wanna visit anybody, CASA, anybody who's been to the juvenile detention center, you're aggressively shaking your head, so you've been there. Anybody been to adult prison? Who are the prisons? In the inside? So then both with juvenile and with adult prison, they all have their rules, when it comes to visitation. So first, how to abide by those rules. But if you have a child that's assigned to you, even if they are incarcerated, you still have to go out and make those visits. You still have to have that compassion and do not pass judgment. Even though in your mind, like, okay, this kid is out of control, this kid is bad, this kid needs to be here. Have compassion, because if they are, that's a saying, and some may agree with it, some may not agree with it, but sometimes apples fall too far from the tree, and they may be just doing what they are accustomed to, what they have seen their parents, what they've seen their families do. I had a student, even being the age that he was, in one of my courts classes, I believe, and he told me that he was attending TJC and he was attending criminal justice classes, so he can be different than his family. He said his whole entire family was either drug users or drug sellers, and he wanted to rise above that and be different. So with some of the kids who are incarcerated, sometimes they can't rise above it. Sometimes they're a product of their environment. In my class, we talk about nurture versus nature. One may commit crime based on their social environment. Another may commit criminal activities based on some biological factors. So we want to be compassionate. We want to let them talk if they want to talk about their situations. And we want to ensure that when we go to court, that we are their voice. If they're having a hard time in juvie, then we need to make that known in our reports. They're having a hard time, they're not adjusting, they're not adapting well. They may even tell you some of the things that they feel like they need that maybe staff may not be listening to. So again, you are their voices, and you kind of where you are the liaison, between them and between the court, and the ad litem and the CPS, working as a judge, all of that. Advocating for adults and their parents on your case or in the correctional systems. Okay, so we know that when families and kids are taken away from their families, their ultimate goal is to for reunification. We want to get the kids back with their families. So incarcerated parents and their children are at a greater risk than parents who are not incarcerated of losing their relationship forever after the state initiates court proceedings. Incarcerated parents and their children are at a greater risk than parents who are not incarcerated of losing their relationship forever after the state initiates court proceedings. Do you counsel? Do you believe it? Do you agree with that? Okay. Children with a parent in prison may experience low self-esteem. It may be a reason why the child is in juvie, because their parents are in prison and they are acting out. Low self-esteem, depression, disturbed sleeping patterns, and symptoms of post-traumatic stress. So PTSD is not just for those who've been in the military. You know, the child can experience that as well as the parents. Separation from a parent through imprisonment can be more detrimental to a child's well-being than divorce or the death of a parent. The death of a parent, they come into realization that they'll never see their parent again. In prison, they really don't know when they're gonna see the parent, when the parent's gonna get out. So that in itself, it can take a big toll on their mental state, as well as their physical state. Incarcerated parents do matter in their ability to create, maintain, strengthen, and or repair their relationship with their children during incarceration, reduces harm to their children. It improves child well-being in placement, and it increases successful reentry for the parents to reenter back into the community and for the kids to get back into their parents' home together as a family. So you as mentors can help the youth cope with having an incarcerated parent by understanding the situation without judgment, and then providing assistance and with education and information. So it's hard enough on the child being taken away from their parents, and their parents being incarcerated where they can't see them on a daily basis, where they can't talk to them on a daily basis. Okay, so developmental effects on children, you already notice that it can be trauma, can be anxiety, can be shame, it can be guilt, sadness, withdrawal, low self-esteem, when decline in school performance. They may have been an A student and now they're an F student. Okay. Truancy, skipping school, use of drugs or alcohol, aggression, depression, again, difficulty in sleeping, and concentration problems. So that is why the big thing that I think everybody said as to what is their why is compassionate, and then the heart goes out, and that is what the child or children who've been taken away from their families need. I didn't ask you, Jared, but Stephanie, what is your why?
So I think for me, it's knowing that you are making a big difference in somebody's life. Kind of like Amy was saying, nobody asked to be in foster care. And so just being that one person that, could make a change in like their trajectory. It literally does make the world a better place.
What is your why?
I have 3 young kids of my own and was actually going to school for criminal justice, and about halfway through, kind of started taking more and more social work programs and learning a little bit more about specifically our region and how many kids need help. And I just kind of attached to it. I can't imagine one of my kids being in a situation like that. I don't want anyone to be.
Right.
So I started volunteering, and before you know it, I got a job.
So you know what your heart longs for, and being compassionate to kids who need compassion.
Yes.
What about you? What's your why?
I kind of along the same lines as everybody else, is that I have a real passion to help kids. I have a soft spot there, but before I came to work for CASA, I honestly did not know anything at all about CASA. And I'm on the community engagement team, which we recruit and train volunteers. And I made it a passion of mine because these kids need help everywhere. I mean, there's so many children that need help. And knowing that I didn't know anything about it, I try and talk to as many people as possible to let them know what our kids need, how we can help them. And I just try to reach out as much as possible to increase the numbers of volunteers that we have to work with children.
Right. So those of you who are 20, about to be 21, you interested in becoming a CASA? Tell me your name again.
Sonia.
Sonia. My best friend.
Any of the three of us are on the community engagement team.
There you go. There you go. Always need a CASA advocate.
Yes.
How long is the training?
It is, you go through an initial interview and then there's 32 hours of training. You do 16 hours here and it either daytime or evening. We try and adjust that to whatever's needed at the time. We do training once a month. You'll have about 16 hours of training that you'll do at home that's some written material, computerized material that you'll go through. Once you go through that, then the time that you spend with the kids, most of our advocates tell us it's anywhere between 4 to 12 hours per month that you spend working with the kids. So once you go through the training, there's not a lot of time. You definitely can put more time in if you want to, because the better you get to know your kids, the better you can advocate for them.
Right.
But it's not a huge investment of time, but it can make a lifetime of difference to the children.
So see Sonia, Jared, Stephanie.
Just yesterday, I got an application from someone wanting to become a CASA because they had a CASA.
Yes.
And when that happens, it makes it really real and
Yes.
makes it really special process.
Yes.
Right. I had a student that was like that. She had a CASA. And she wanted to be a CASA because the CASA helped her out a great deal going through situations that she had to go through.
We had another lady that a month or two ago that went through training who adopted a baby through the foster care system and had a fantastic CASA. And she, for that reason, 19 years ago, she adopted this baby. And she said, when I have time, she just retired last December. And so she's gone through training because of the experience she had with the CASA that helped them get their child. And so there's a lot. I was out of town last week down in south of Houston, and I talked to 3 different people down there about the Gulf Coast CASA and told them about it because I was at a golf tournament. They were asking me what I did, and I told them about it. And so I went through the whole little recruiting spiel with each of them, and I said, contact the Gulf Coast CASA. There are kids all over the state that need your help.
Absolutely.
So if any of you, I know you might be here at TJC, but you live elsewhere, there are CASA organizations all over the state and all over the nation for that matter.
Yes. Okay, so benefits of being a CASA, we've already talked about it. So although you're not providing money, but you are getting rewarding experiences with helping the children. This includes, but not limited to, you'll make a difference in the life and the future of a child who has been a victim of abuse and or neglect. You help the child find permanency in safe and loving homes. You assist judges in obtaining a clear picture of the child's life's needs, because when you go to court and you are building this picture, you're painting this picture of what this child has told you and cannot be there to tell the judge themselves. So you're painting a picture. You are going to gain an understanding of family courts, legal proceedings, and social service agencies. And I was going to print out some like legal terms, court terms, but I forgot to print it out, but I'm pretty sure you all know that. You know those terms already. You want to develop and utilize your communication skills. You want to utilize your assertiveness. You want to utilize your past experience skills, and you form friendships with like-minded individuals, with other CASAs, with PTS, with social workers, with police officers, all of the partners. Okay, so I put a little short quiz on here. If you don't have paper, there's paper in.
Have some paper out here.
Raise your hand if you need paper.
Everybody, praise to Rose. I can't look figures.
Like, come to class without paper. You should have never been here. It's just 10 questions.
Is it multiple choice?
And true and false. Okay, so the first one, it is good for children to visit their incarcerated parents. Is that true or false? So you can just put a 1 and put a T or yeah.
I'm trying to get the answers off me.
It is good for children to visit their incarcerated parents. Is that true or false? Number 2, the impact for a child whose father is incarcerated is greater than when the mother is incarcerated. Is that true or false? Number 3, children need to know what is going on with their parent while the parent is incarcerated. Is that true or false? The most traumatic phase for children of incarcerated parents is A, witnessing the arrest, B, visitation in an institution, C, going to school, or D, being placed in foster care. And 5, most children of incarcerated parents end up in foster care. Is that true or false? Most children who live with their parents prior to parental incarceration will live with them again following release. Is that true or false? Yeah, that's 10. Most incarcerated parents want to maintain relationships with their children. Is that true or false? Incarceration leads to permanent severance of family ties in many situations. Is that true or false? Number 9, frequent visitation at a correctional institution, jail, or prison, when appropriate and there is no risk to the child, has been proven to reduce trauma for the child. Is that true or false? Children whose parents are incarcerated are exposed to more risk factors and more likely to have behavior problems. Is that true or false? Yeah, you get an extra credit. Okay, so it's good for children to visit their incarcerated parents. You put true, then good job. So as a CASA, 1 you tell me why it's good for children to visit their incarcerated parents?
I don't believe it is.
You don't think it's good for them to visit their incarcerated parents?
It honestly depends on the situation of the kid, like, did the parent molest them? Did the parents beat them to death?
Mm-hmm.
Did the parents, like, what did the parents, is it just drugs? Or is it abuse, neglect, drugs, like, what is it?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's too broad of a question to just be true.
Good point. Good point. And I agree. And I copy and pasted it quickly. The impact for a child whose father is incarcerated is greater than when the mother is incarcerated. Anybody put true?
I put true.
You put true? Number 2.
I lost.
I put true.
Yeah. Why you put true?
You know, you got the different kids who like choose different sides of the family. You know what I'm saying?
I was closer to my dad. I mean, I was closer, but you know.
And on the kid?
Yeah.
In the
They
relationship?
didn't have a relationship.
Can I, real quick?
I say, yeah, it is true for a father to be more incarcerated because father's supposed to be there to show the man how to lead, to show the young man how to be. a
If it's a-
man,
if it's a-
to show it's, I got to you. But and the father is supposed to be there for a young lady to show her how she is supposed to be loved. So therefore, I feel like it is.
Tonight, real quick.
It's false because as a child, we're all in the womb of our mothers. So we feel the connection already with the mom. So I feel like it'll be a deeper impact from the mother than the father, no matter how the bond is. It's already connected. It's already connected.
So anyways,
Okay, so we're not gonna stay on this too long. You and then you. and
I was
then-
gonna say, like, as father being the head of the household and seen as, so I suppose. I'm just saying, seeing that, I feel like it'd be detrimental to a child. Seeing, like, your father figure, you're supposed to be, strong, tough, stuff like that, going to prison like that.
I've experienced being a bunch of girls, so like, my mother was never around. So the one that got the most abuse from her, so like, I got attached to it and I was going through a trauma.
So it says case by case? It says case by case?
Yes, we rarely recommend that, like, kids go to prisons.
Oh, yeah,
Mhm.
even if the situation, I know like
If
in
it's
different situations.
Older kids, if they're able to vocalize that, but younger kids, that's not something,
Not
because that's
something
not
that
an
you-
environment
Mhm.
we really want our kids to be in. The little ones especially,
Yeah,
because they don't understand.
right, right. And I think the ones who created this quiz was looking more, because the topic where I got this from was reunification.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And keeping the child used to the parents, but more of these questions are coming at me, and like, it seems like most of these are opinionated.
They're all subjective.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so children need to know what is going on with their parents while the parent is incarcerated. Did everybody agree on that?
Yes.
The most traumatic phase for children of incarcerated parents is witnessing the arrest.
Yeah.
Think so?
I did. Yes.
I said, I know that witnessing the arrest is very traumatic, but also being placed in foster care, it brings it home to them that, oh my, I'm being placed in a whole different situation.
Yeah.
And it may bring it more home to them.
Yeah. Most children of incarcerated parents end up in foster care.
I was really stuck. Even though I couldn't sleep, a lot. That's really good. Like some people don't really want to somebody else.
Yeah, so but then the parents are incarcerated. Depends. It depends. There's one that's willing and passes the inspection, because you have to do the home inspection and background checks and all of that, right? Most children who live with their parents prior to parental incarceration will live with them again following release. Because the goal is reunification, right?
Because it just depends on the honestly.
Is that a statistic?
Yeah. Well, the overall goal is reunification. We want to try to reunite the child back with the family once, and this is situations where it can. It may be drug use, right? And they may go through drug counseling and parenting classes and all of that, that they will have to go through and pass, right, before they reunify. Most incarcerated parents want to maintain relationships with their children. Everybody put true? Incarceration leads to permanent severance of family ties in many situations. Frequent visitation at a correctional institution, jail, or prison when appropriate and there is no risk to the child has been proven to reduce trauma for the child. True, everybody agree with that? And children whose parents are incarcerated or exposed to more risk factors are more likely to have behavior problems.